All right, it's showing me as live. So here we go. Hey everyone, I know it's been a little while since I've done anything on this channel. About a month it says since I posted that New York video. I've just been really busy, college student and all. It's my second semester and I'm trying to really hit it hard. So, um sorry that I haven't been very good about responding to messages and all that, but anyway, something did happen today, though, that I did find to be very much worth talking about on this channel, as it does relate to something that we've been talking about in the Great Debate and its surrounding areas for a little while now. This isn't really been a recent issue. It kind of died down, but oh boy, when you guys find out about it, you are honestly not going to believe me, nor should you. So, if I could go ahead and get some confirmation from somebody in the chat to see if I can be heard properly, if everything's going all right. I haven't seen anyone in the live chat yet, but let me go ahead and pull up my channel page to make sure that this is going. I see that there are two people watching. Ah, Mike, you're there. I see you. Oh, you still got that spanner. That's awesome. Uh, yeah. So I'm just gonna give it a couple more minutes, see if anybody else kind of trickles in because I don't want anyone to miss it. I think I've got DVR enabled if I remember correctly, but on the off chance that I don't, I apologize. This definitely will be staying up on my channel because I have integrity. Um, but while we're waiting for a couple more people to trickle in, I thought I would go ahead and share a quick story of something that happened yesterday on my college campus, because obviously weird shit goes on college campuses. We all know this. Oh, Mike says spanner gone in 3, 2, 1. Well, self-fulfilling prophecy. Boom. There you go. There you go, Mike. You feel good? You feel good about yourself? You feel good about your premonition? Anyway, so college campuses are weird places. Actually, no, this would this have been? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. So I was I take the bus uh, back to my neck of the woods from the college, and I was leaving my last class of the day, and uh, all of a sudden I had seen a lot of like tracts and stuff, like religious pamphlets and like come pick up a free study Bible stuff. So I figured that group was, active on campus. But what I didn't expect was for them to literally surround me as a group of like a dozen and a half and like try to harass me about like Jesus shit, which that's a kind of a little fucked when you're trying to get to a bus that's clearly pulling up. And the fuckers tried to make me miss my bus because they wanted to talk to me about Jesus, which I wasn't happy about. But here's the thing, is that ended up not being my bus, so I circled back. And all that I really need to tell you about that interaction is that the main preacher, like youth pastor guy, had never heard of Aramaic. Yeah, and so like I had some fun with that. So today's story, I did unfortunately not come out on top. And now that we've got a couple more people here, I guess I'll go ahead and get started telling it. So, title of this hangout is My Professor, the Woo Peddler. And I think I will probably put the link out for people to join and share their thoughts and concerns at a certain point. But I do have an obligation that I need to go meet. I have to go tutor somebody, but I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be. So just kind of sit tight for that. But we should have at least maybe like half an hour for people to come in and talk. I'd love to catch up with some of you guys. So anyway, without further ado, so here's what happened. I'm taking, oh, of course, I got to text the moment that I say, here, let's get started. Oh, okay. So I'm probably going to have to leave here at 5:30. Anyway, so my strategy, because I'm a biology major, as many of you know, and I'm not 100% decided on a sub-discipline yet. Like, I'm not especially specialized, but I am leaning very much towards agricultural science. But if I'm going to be a bio major of any stripe, I'm definitely going to need to do well in what you guys have been calling OChem, but I've spoken to several classmates of mine, and apparently everybody who I've met in real life calls it orgo. The class is organic chemistry, obviously, but everybody on the internet calls it OChem. Everybody in my real life calls it orgo, so I don't know what the fuck to call it, so I'll just keep calling it orgo, and fuck you, Tyler Durden. So, in order to make sure I do well in that, I'm trying to take chemistry courses early so that I can, kind of front load some of the intensive studying, and I want to have a good, solid background in chemistry. And so, in that spirit, I took a remedial chemistry course last semester, and this semester I'm taking General Chemistry 1, which is the first, big boys chemistry class that I'll be taking. The class that I'm in is pretty diverse as far as, different majors and stuff. A lot of people who are really there because they're big into science, and a lot of people there because, it was a science class and chemistry sounded cool. There's this one girl in particular who's in this class. I know this isn't actually going the direction you think it is, unfortunately. But there's a girl in this class. Let's call her Stacy because that basically describes her personality. She's the most Valley Girl-esque, airheaded person that I've encountered in quite some time. And I know that sounds really mean. She's not a bad person, I don't think, but she's the girl in class who, whenever somebody asks, or whenever she asks a question, everybody kind of groans and is like, "How did you not pick up on the answer to this? He literally just said it." And when we were doing electron configurations in class, I think that wasn't today, that was the last class period, everybody was begging her to just let it go and move on. But I actually value having somebody like that in the classroom. And the reason I do is because it takes some either bravery or lack of self-awareness to keep asking questions that make you out to be the dumbest person in the room, and yet you still continue to ask questions. I do genuinely admire that, because not only, is it cool to see such confidence, but sometimes she asks a question that one of us was thinking about asking but wasn't really sure if we wanted to, and so she'll go ahead and do it. So that's a really great dynamic to have in the classroom. But I need to introduce her for reasons that will become obvious later. So anyway, today, one of the main things that we were doing was naming ionic compounds, which is something that I've done before. I'm just rusty at because it was covered in basically the first 2 weeks of that intro chemistry course, and I haven't touched it since. It wasn't really on the final that much, so I haven't looked at it in a long ass time. But that's what we were doing today, and obviously we're coming up with obviously a copper 2 sulfate and the more modern type of naming system where you put the Roman numerals in parentheses in order to denote which ion it is. And so what we were also doing was we were learning the old naming convention, which was ferric, bromic. Well, bromic, I guess, would be one of them, and then there's also I didn't sleep last night. My retention is poor, but all of those plumbic, stranus, I think is one of them, or for tin or stranus. I don't quite remember, but that whole naming system. So a lot of really chemically sounding names, and no, I did not coin that phrase. Stacy did, because when she raised her hand and asked the professor, "So all of these chemically sounding names or whatever, a lot of this stuff sounds really similar to what I see at the end of the food labels. Is that some of the same kind of stuff we're talking about here?" And I sigh, but it's not really that stupid of a question because, it's an observation she made, so whatever. And the professor goes, "Yeah, they do put all kinds of stuff in our food." And it's at this point that I should let you know that my professor has shown himself to be an entertainer of woo before, of weird pseudoscience that doesn't really pertain to the course material that he'll go off into tangents about. And I think I mentioned to some of you that he did invoke GMOs to me in passing, well, to the class really, But in passing, and I told people if he brought that up again, I was going to say something, because I don't think that's cool that he's bringing that up. He's in a perceived, position of authority in the classroom. He shouldn't be spreading incorrect information. So anyway, he starts going into like, oh yeah, they're putting all sorts of, like, basically put in the Alex Jones clip of they're putting chemicals in the water. And he I think he mentioned like fluoride or whatever, and like preservatives, various unnamed scary chemicals. Mind you, this guy has a PhD and claims 7 years of research experience. He is somebody who carries himself as though he's a man of science, but he's talking about this stuff like he's a soccer mom. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And so he's going on about this, and he's getting like really animated about like, oh, they're putting all these sorts of chemicals in our food and they don't want us to know what it is, like the corn syrups and the corn sugars and he's just on a complete total tirade. And I kind of start to tune him out, but then he says the thing that makes every college student immediately regain their attention on what he's saying. And that's when he mentioned extra credit. He said, come to think of it, how about we do this? I'll pass around a sign-up sheet. You all come up with some sort of a food additive chemical substance, and you can do a presentation about it. 5 minutes gets you 5 points extra credit. 10 minutes gets you 10 points extra credit, and this will be applied to the next exam. Sound good? That's a pretty good deal. And so I was really excited. And when he started going back into his tirade, and he started talking about like the corn syrup, and I immediately said, dibs. Everyone kind of laughed at that, but he kind of just kept moving on and said that because I would be interested in talking about that, because I think that there's a lot to be said critically about the farm subsidies that make corn syrup our main sweetener in like processed foods. I don't think that it is necessarily any worse for you than other forms of fructose, because after all, fructose is fructose to a degree. I would definitely want to do more reading, but that's my present understanding, is obviously like it causes obesity just like sugar in general would cause obesity, right? So yeah, I was gonna do a full 10-minute presentation on that, and that was gonna be good. But then the other shoe dropped. It's at that point that he, in his tirade, mentioned, you guessed it, good old GMOs. And it's at this point that my hand shot up, obviously. And I should warn you that this is the part where I expect to lose you guys. I expect a good majority of you to say, you're bullshitting. This did not happen. Because it sounds a little bit like a weird mutant version of like a secular God's Not Dead type of situation. It's fucking weird. So that's your trigger warning for the day, folks. I'm a college student. I'm obligated to give you one. So there you go. He mentioned GMOs, at which point my hand shoots up. He calls on me. So, Professor, you were talking about chemical additives just then. What chemical additive makes something a GMO, or have you started talking about something else? And his response was, oh, well, a GMO is a genetically modified organism. So anyway, with all the pesticides and the sweeteners and he just completely glosses over the point. Who does that remind you of? Who, when asked to elaborate about GMOs, simply gave what the acronym stood for and didn't go any deeper? And if he did, he just brought up something that was like sounded relevant but wasn't. My professor, who is being paid to teach chemistry to college students, used a G-man argument. I'm going to let that sink in for a second because it certainly caught me off guard. It was very concerning. And again, I already had background with this professor enough from earlier in the semester to know that he probably had these opinions. But I didn't think it was quite that bad. And so he keeps going on his rant, and he passes me a sheet of paper. It's completely blank, and he tells me to write my name on it and to be the first one to select a topic, because I've already shown myself in the first couple of weeks of class. He would, he does that, typical Socratic professorial thing where he asks a question of the class, and then the first person to kind of just shout out an answer to it, he would ask them their name. He found out my name fairly quickly because I do try to speak up in class, especially when I think that I know something. And so he came up with my name on a short list of what he expected to be his best students. And I think that's why he gave it to me first, and gave me first dibs. I asked him when he handed it to me, now, you brought up GMOs. Is that something that you kind of were mentioning in passing, or could I do a presentation on that? And he says, yeah, just go ahead, the only requirement is it has to be something unnatural. Let me repeat. He said the only requirement for what you could do this presentation on was that it had to be, quote, something unnatural. Well, there goes fructose. I'm gonna really hate to inform the guy whose name I won't mention from that class that he's sadly no longer going to be able to do the thing on corn syrup, because I'm afraid that's something that occurs fairly naturally. The fructose in corn, I'm sorry, it's natural. You can't do it. And so, completely ignoring this discrepancy for the time being, I instantly jotted down my name and put GMO next to it and handed the paper on. The professor keeps talking about other stuff, and he mentions like an actual really cool extra credit activity that involves like a beach cleanup and stuff, which, that's kind of a typical science department type of extra credit thing to offer. Yeah, you come do this community service thing, and yeah. And so he was giving us details about that, and he was starting to sound like he was maybe going to get back into lecturing, the thing we kind of paid to be there for. And then Stacy speaks up, because of course she was going to. She calls me, hey Pew, yeah, so I see you put your name here like next to GMO or whatever, but yeah, I already picked that one, so I'm sorry, but like you're gonna have to pick something else. I said, oh, is that how that works? I'm like, he handed me the paper and I wrote it down. I'm sorry, like I've got that one. He's like, well, I kind of like brought it up to him, and I was the one to have the idea for GMOs, so I think it's kind of mine now. So you're gonna have to pick something else. This bitch, I tell you what, because like the revisionism of it was hilarious, and so I was like, we're pretty far apart from each other in class, so we're being kind of loud and disruptive. So I'm like, listen, okay, Stacy or whoever the fuck, I still don't actually know her name, but in my mind now she will always be Stacy. I say, look, so we can talk about this with the professor after class, okay? And she kind of just doesn't respond, and I turn away, just glad to be done with that interaction. And so the professor eventually, he goes back into the lecture, actually talking about naming ionic compounds, and he gets a sentence out, and Stacy raises her hand. I figure, oh, it's just another one of her stupid fucking questions we're all going to groan at, but I still kind of appreciate. And she calls on her, obviously. She immediately goes, so yeah, like Pew picked GMOs, even though I already picked it, and like I don't know what you want us to do about that. So, and at this point, I'm kind of pissed. So I don't show it. I speak up and I say, look, I thought we agreed we were gonna talk to the professor about this after class, but since you brought it up again, I do actually have an idea. And so how about this? Let me guess, Stacy, you are anti-GMO, right? What? Do you believe that GMOs are bad for you? Yeah, totally, I do. The classroom is pretty focused on what we're saying at this point. And I say, well, see, that's the thing that makes this interesting. I don't agree. I don't think GMOs are always bad for you. So how about this? Since we're going to be presenting different views on the same subject, how about you give your presentation and I give mine, and we both get to do it on GMOs? Does that sound good to you? She gives me this confused stare, which is fairly typical. But the professor starts looking at me like with absolute bewilderment. And he goes, I'm. Hold on. I got it. Sorry. I got a text. But so he says, I'm sorry, Pew, but I can't let you do that. What? What's wrong? Uh, did I hear you say that you don't think GMOs are bad? Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but they are. Look it up. I can't let you give a presentation saying they're not bad. Well, not even if I use peer-reviewed sources, because there's plenty of them on the subject. Listen, I've got my PhD. I was a researcher for 7 years. Monsanto is funding all of the fake research, and they try to lie about how the GMOs are good in order to poison us. All right, well, okay, how about this? What if I only use peer-reviewed sources that you can't connect back to Monsanto because they aren't related to Monsanto? No, Monsanto funds all of it. Pick something like corn syrup or food dyes, and this other fucking kid jumps in, is like, I heard that stevia is this really toxic artificial sweetener. I'm like, internally, I'm like, fuck you, kid. But I'd say, okay, listen, I'll think about it. Whatever, we'll talk after something. Okay. Because at this point, I'm just thoroughly in the middle of a what the fuck moment. And so I'm thinking, okay, whatever, let's just move on to the rest of the class. The professor got maybe one sentence back into the lecture before he's like, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do some practice questions. Pew, I got one for you. Writes out the hardest question he had come up with all day. And I'm still reeling from this. And this is a weak area of mine, so I got it wrong. He smirks a little. All right, well, Pew, that's okay. You got that one wrong, but I'm sure you'll get this one. Gives something that we haven't really even seen before. I get that one wrong, too. His smirk widens a little bit. Oh, well, I guess you can try this one. I got this one right. And without skipping a single millisecond of a beat, comes up with a harder question, which I get wrong. He smirks, turns to the class, gives a get a load of this asshole kind of a gesture to them, and then finally actually continues on with the lecture. So that's the story. That's what happened in my college chemistry class today. And I'm sorry I haven't been looking at the live chat for this. I generally do try to engage, but that kind of needed to just get out in a big stream of consciousness. So let me go ahead and scroll through and see what some of you have been saying. 10 for apricot. I want to gas your whole world. I can't hear anything since I'm in a bar, but I bet it's pure cancer. It is, but not for the reason you think. Hylochemically. I did that with my English professor in the wage gap. Ooh, there's another story I should tell you about soon. I'm actually going to be doing a presentation on why Marxism is the way forward, except I'm going to not really talk about that and instead talk about Lysenkoism. Nestlig says, what? Is your professor a Woo Peddler? Yes, indeed he is. And I do have one more story to tell about that because you've asked. He says, try to have a debate with your professor on GMOs. Haha. And that's why I was giving you the warning, Nestlig, and everyone else too. That's why I gave you the warning about how God's Not Dead-esque this sounds. Right? Like, because I seriously want to do something like that. I don't think there's any fucking chance in hell he'd agree to it. But I would want to do something like that. Absolutely. And I think we all know how that would turn out. Alice says I'm working on the poster now. Oh, please do. It can only be better. It can only be better than the poster they had up for like what the Guardian newspaper called the world's most prominent male feminist, whose lecture I recorded. That one was yesterday. Um, but yeah, no, that one was fun and cringy, mostly cringy. But I did get a free copy of his book out of it, so I can be critiquing that. Man, I love that this week I've gone to college more to hear about bullshit that I have to find time to refute than actual shit that I've learned. Isn't that really strange that I've paid all this fucking money to go and listen to a chemistry professor talk about how GMOs are bad, and to have my English professor tell me that I got to do a presentation on why Marxist critique is like super awesome and relevant. Like, I mean, here's the thing though, is like I don't want to complain about that stuff because ultimately, like, shit is, it's hoops that everyone's got to jump through, and like I get that, but to the point where you're actually spreading misinformation to students, because like the sociology professor and the English professors and those guys, they have what amounts to a difference of opinion. And of course there are some disagreements on facts. For example, the male feminist who I saw speak yesterday invoked the 1 in 4 women are raped on college campuses fake news stat. But so there are certain disagreements on facts, but ultimately it comes down to opinion, I think, on a lot of like the gender issues. But on GMOs, it really doesn't. And my professor's insistence that every bit of research that finds that GMOs aren't bad must be funded either publicly or in secret by Monsanto represents an unfalsifiable hypothesis, one that had he included a similar one in his research, or had I included a similar one in mine, neither of us would have passed peer review. Definitely, absolutely would not have happened in our respective fields. And that's another thing too, is when my professor started saying about how he was published and everything, if he had given me even a half a second to respond to that, oh, this is me rubbing my hands together like the happy merchant meme. Oh boy, would I have had fun with that. Because I don't like to invoke that all the time, because I feel like that's going to get old. And honestly, it's not. I feel like there were certain parts of that research, especially like my statistical analysis, that I could have done a lot better than I did, especially knowing what I know now after I've taken even like 1 semester of college. But I mean, that's the thing. He tried to pull the authority card, and then when it didn't work, he tried to humiliate me in front of the class. And that's another thing too, is I genuinely do not mind that he came up with questions that I didn't know how to answer, because now I know what I need to work on better than probably any student in there does, because he didn't challenge them in the way he challenged me. So fundamentally, I appreciate that he did that. What I'm more worried about is the clear motivation he had to do it. He didn't do that because he wanted me to improve as a student, I don't think. I think that's pretty obvious to anybody who just listened to that story. So let me go ahead and scroll back in the chat. Next, you'll have to give a presentation on anti-Marxist GMOs. Nestlix says, do you remember the questions the professor asked you? Not offhand, but they were on naming. I mean, it was on like the section of the chapter that we were on, like naming ionic compounds and like the weird old style of spelling that requires that you know the Latin roots and you memorize the common ion charges for the transition metals and everything, which I like. If I know I've mentioned this on my channel and in other people's channels before, I am horrible at just rote memorization. Like, I basically have to trick my mind into remembering things. It's really bad. I can't sit down with a set of things and expect that I'll reliably be able to memorize them. That's not how it works for me. So that's a struggle that I've always had. And knowing that, I was already making a note to myself, okay, I'm going to have to pull up the old Quizlets that I made for like fucking polyatomic ions and common ion charges of metals and stuff. I gotta dig that back out. So yeah, I can definitely. It's not something that I'm going to need a huge amount of like outside assistance with. I just really need to spend time drilling it and hope that it sticks. Pew isn't topless. I demand my money back, says Nim. Oh, Boop. Hey, Joseph. Oh, he literally says, is this the plot to God's Not Dead? I made that joke earlier, Joseph. You could rewind and see that I did make that self-aware reference. Hilo says, Pew, quick, say something dank. Show me the way. Nestlig says, at Pew Review, next time bring through questions on genetics and biotechnology and ask them to him in front of the class, see what happens. Well, here's the thing, though, is I don't want my professor to literally hate me, because I kind of need him. Like, I mean, as much as I do want to debate him on this stuff, I don't want to I don't want to prejudice him so much against me that he'll be exceedingly unfavorable in grading, which professors have the freedom to do. So I'm kind of trying to walk a tightrope here. But I do like that idea, Nestlig, and honestly, like throughout that entire thing, like as I was kind of just sitting head desking for the remaining hour and a half of that class, I definitely was thinking about your videos against G-Man on GMOs and thinking, holy shit, here's a guy who actually is being entrusted with teaching people, who's using arguably worse arguments than that. Mike Duffy says, show me the way, you're now dead to me. I know, I'm such a racist, right? Apparently that's a thing that people are saying. Do you know the way? Oh, I like person with King Crimson icon. Is that an L or is that a lowercase L or is that an uppercase I? I'm not quite sure. Ilredel or is it Iridai? I've always been curious, and I've never cared to copy and paste it and see what the actual characters are. So while I'm waiting on an answer for that, I guess I've got a little time here, so I'm going to go ahead and Elredel. Okay, there we go. Elredel. Okay, got it. I will try desperately not to forget that. Curse you sans serif fonts, right? Elredel. It's a word puzzle. Ooh, it's nice. It's kind of neat. So anyway, we got about 12 people watching. I assume most of you have access to the I think the master list on Hangouts for the links to Hangouts. I like master Hangout invite list or whatever. I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see. How the fuck is Ugandan Knuckles racist? Because Ugandan. That's what people were saying. That's literally the only piece of reasoning I've ever heard from anyone. Is it's making fun of an accent, and that's racist. That's what I've been told by people. In fact, I overheard a conversation on my campus today, specifically regarding how memes are racist, and both Pepe and fucking Ugandan Knuckles came up by the people with the problem glasses. Elredel says, what course were you in? I think there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to try to answer. The course that the Woo Peddling happened in, that was general chemistry. Oh, and before I let people in, I do want to let people in. I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh yeah, any second now, here comes the link. But I do want to get this out before I start, hanging out with you guys. There was one other instance. I wish Kevin Butrick was watching, because he knows exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this. So he he and I have each shared periodically on our G Plus pages this video by a YouTuber better known for his like MRA activism and stuff, but this is a video that doesn't have anything to do with it. The man's name is Dr. Randomcam. His real name is Mike. And the video is hashtag LogicGate exposing the simulated universe. And if you watch that video, he's basically making fun of people's misunderstanding of the double slit experiment, not understanding what an interferometer is, and basically trying to turn it into Stizor tier quantum woo. And like, oh yeah, the electrons are aware that they're being observed, and so they change their behavior to trick the silly scientists or whatever the fuck. So you'd have to be pretty dense to not realize where I was going with this. So here it goes. My chemistry professor, in addition to saying, by the way, that everything is on a frequency and is vibrations and waves and energy and shit. I'm surprised he didn't say fucking chi. He also, in addition to that, said, when describing the double slit experiment and like particle wave duality and all that shit, said that electrons were conscious. Who does that remind you of? Who does that? Like, first he made a G-Man argument with fucking GMOs, and now he's making an argument that Tommy Hall fucking recycles, and even he has stopped using it as of late. Let's see. Mike Duffy says, next meme, Ugandan Pepe. Sit back and watch the SJW heads explode. I don't know, maybe it would cancel it out. Elriel says, general chemistry, facepalm. Man. So, anyway. Oh, Hilo says, finish the poster. Like, you better not be lying to me, because I'm going to spanner you just so you can post that link. Oh, Neslick said he was thinking of Chopra, not Tommy. Yeah, I mean, he does invoke, like, quantum woo shit, but, like, the electrons themselves being conscious, that's more of a Tommy Hallism in my book. Oh, yeah, Mike, don't even. Mike Duffy says, next he'll tell you that DNA breaks down in water. Fuck it at this point, you know? I wouldn't put it past him. My God. So, anyway, Hilo, you better try to fucking follow through with that poster, my guy, because you told me that you had one. Oh, my goodness. It's been one of those days, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link to this in Hangout invite list. I hope people don't mind that I'm posting this here, even though this is kind of like a personal channel thing. So for those of you who aren't part of that list, who I know, just let me know, and I'll send you a message someplace like G Plus, Hangouts, Facebook if you got it. Nim says higher education does not equal critical thinking skills. I for one think that we should teach critical thinking and like basic logic in elementary school, even, because I think you could teach it in a simple enough way to make kids that age understand it quite effectively. So yeah, I'm definitely a big supporter of that. Hilo says it's a low quality meme, but I'm new at this. Hey, listen, it's probably exactly on par with the shitty memes I make on this fucking channel, so go for it. Scott says, ping me via one of the various social media we are connected by. I will go on to the social media website.com. I will send you a link. Hey, Mike.
What's up?
So, thoughts, concerns, desire to commit suicide?
Yes, and most definitely.
Yeah. It's so fucked up.
He's one of these types of PhDs that thinks because they have the PhD they're infallible.
He quite evidently does think that. And it's clear because that when I started to even slightly challenge him, he went straight to that. Oh, Hyle said sent. It may take a minute. I was asking you to send a link in the fucking live chat. That's why I spannered you, asshole. So let's see. Scott, I don't. Let me check to see if I have you here. There you are. I believe that is you. So
Can you transfer classes to get away from that idiot, or are you kind of stuck with him?
I'm stuck at this point. Like this is why you pick your classes early, folks. This is why you don't prepare for a New York trip, forget to sign up for your classes, come back and take what you get. This is why that doesn't work. So Scott, you are being sent the link right now. And you have got the link, good sir. Oh, I sent it via Skype, asshole. Oh, that's right, that thing that I never open. You know.
The fact that you challenged him, he can now mark your scores on your test as being worse than what they should be is total
Yeah,
bullshit.
he can. Oh, yes. Oh, this is the greatest gift I have ever received.
Oh dear God. Post it on the internal, I want to see.
Okay, no, hang on. Oh, oh, this is the best. This is the best meme. Okay, so let's open up minicam for this. All right, we got it going, boys. Minicam. Hey, Scott, by the way.
Hello.
Hey. So, is your desire to commit suicide as strong as Mike's, weaker than Mike's, about the same? You know.
My will to live is fairly strong.
Oh. Well, I don't know why. I guess I didn't do my job then. I guess I didn't tell the story well enough.
Oh no, I'm just, just a happy guy.
You sure sound like it.
Yeah, right?
Meth, it's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it's a hell of a drug.
Oh god, why did it corrupt the PNG? Whatever, I guess I'm just screen sharing this shit. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So, make sure there's no compromising information on my screen. And share. Oops, let's stop that. That's not correct. That probably didn't have anything on it, so let's try again. Yeah, actually, that definitively didn't have anything on it, so...
There we go. Desktop. Also, for some reason, the audio is cut off on your live stream.
Oh, is it?
But it seems like everyone's audio is off.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we're all just going robot for a minute there.
That's really strange.
No, like I've got the live feed, and I was expecting to get an echo because I realized it's still running, but...
Oh, so like nobody can hear in the live stream?
Because no one else is complaining about it. Cause it could just be me.
It could actually. So like nobody can hear. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Well, both of you going robot on my end as well, so maybe it's just an internal thing.
It could be. Oh, okay.
I don't know. So... It's YouTube and it's Hangouts. Everything's a little wonky.
Expect things to fuck up, basically.
El Riddell sent me a big think thing. The universe may be conscious, says prominent scientists, and then it's a bunch of psychedelic rock art album covers, basically. It's fucking strange. I will bookmark that and probably laugh at it, but let's see. That doesn't go in my shitpost folder. That goes in the actual bookmarks bar. There we go. So, Jared, do you not want me in? It's the dog, not me. No, Jared, I didn't know. Let me see where I have you as a thing. But yeah, I guess like I assume you guys each have a little bit of college background. Did anything remotely like this happen to you, or?
No, in fact, I can honestly say that I think back to going to college and I recall I think back now at how much my professors seemed to exercise restraint about introducing their personal beliefs into the classroom at all. And I had a fairly decent amount of science classes, and certainly no woo peddling there.
Yeah, this is the first class where it's happened to an appreciable degree. Like, I had a high school bio teacher who he was literally going to have us all go, like, when he was a big #MAGA guy. He's a huge Trump supporter. And so he was actually going to have us, for extra credit, go to an airport. And this was shortly after the first attempt at a travel ban, and just scream in Arabic at people that they need to go back. And it's funny, not fucked up, because he was Arabic. So, I mean, that to me it was a little beyond the pale, but it was funny. This,
it's comical, like it's like a Saturday morning cartoon idea of a racist.
It is, and that's exactly the thing. Is like it was comical, but not only that, it was not really that much about the subject, and you could tell that it was just his opinion. Whereas with the professor that I have, that line is very blurred. He's trying to incorporate his woo.
Nothing about your other teacher's wacko political ideas really was getting in the way of the class material. But here, this is a chemistry professor openly stating things that are really not at all consistent with chemistry.
Correct. And that's what concerns me so much, is there are people in this class, and like I know enough to where I'm not susceptible to it. He can spew the bullshit that he wants, and I know how to think for myself. Oh, hey, Midnight.
Hello.
But like I'm not worried about my own ability to learn from this class being impacted by his nonsense. I'm worried about other people in the class who, like, for example, after the electrons are conscious thing, I literally, like, to the person to my left and the person to my right, I like sent them both the link to that video that I mentioned, the Dr. Randercam one, where he kind of attacks the whole misinterpretation of the double slit experiment and quantum woo in general. And their reactions were basically identical. Yeah, that it seems like that makes sense, and what the professor said doesn't. But, you know, he is the professor. And see, that's the exact sentiment that bothers me, is I think that's just too easy of an answer. It's so easy to say, look, I don't understand this, but he knows what he's doing, so I'll kind of go with it. Except
sure. I mean, we live in America. We shouldn't, like, there's no reason to pretend that intellectual laziness isn't a thing. That's
sure.
Not even a partisan concept.
I don't think that's specific to Americans either. I think that's kind of just a human thing.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as the subject gets too difficult, we're going to take shortcuts.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't blame people for that, really, even.
No, it's a survival mechanism.
Uh-huh.
So, what did I walk into?
You walked into me talking about how my chemistry professor has been talking shit about GMOs and has refused to allow me to correct him.
Oh, that is hard. That is what's the word I'm looking for?
Comical.
Well,
agonizing.
That is comical, and also, let's see,
fucked.
Kind of that too, kind of conflict. I'm trying to think of the word. Kind of conflict-inducing, because I mean he's a teacher. I don't know. It's just I can't think of the word right now, but yeah,
it's a no-win situation.
Yes, there you go. Thank you.
That's what it is. I mean, I don't think that's like genius of me, but basically, like, you could kick this guy's ass and show him what for, but you're probably gonna end up, you know, paying for it.
How did he get a teacher position again?
Banned IRL. And by the way, Jared, it has been sent to you. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, on
off
G+,
for a few
by the way.
weeks, but my new image on screen, you should print that out and leave it in the classroom in a few weeks. See if you figures out
your new image on screen. I'm not seeing a new image on screen.
No.
No, I'm not.
No. Yeah, wait. I am when he talks, but I can't read what he says.
It's literally just the normal Mike Duffy fucking icon.
Yeah.
Nestle asks, how long are you stuck with your Woo peddling professor? For the semester, basically.
Yeah.
Try
Which we're
refreshing
basically
me,
towards the beginning of. So basically until the summer.
Yeah, I'm guessing this professor's not like the only professor for some like key classes or some shit.
No, not at all. I mean, to be fair, this is his only Gen Chem 1 class. He teaches almost exclusively Gen Chem 2, which isn't better.
There you go. Just put it in the side chat.
Let's see. It's better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than to open it and remove all doubt. I don't care if Mark Twain did or did not say that. That's wise words to live by.
Yes, absolutely. Nestle asks, does he know you have this channel? Only a few people in my personal life know that this channel exists, and that is a very selective group. There's no way my professor knows about it, otherwise I wouldn't have done this stream. Jared apparently is not seeing the link, so let me go to actual Hangouts. And there you go. Sorry it's taken so long to get you in here, man, but yeah.
Technology.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? Yeah, but
it's my job.
So Windows has been fucking me lately because every time it wants me, it pops up and it grays out my screen for me to pick a time for the update, and then I do it. I just like, okay, let's do the update, but then like it restarts and then immediately is like, oh, we still need to update. It's not fucking updating, so I need to go fix that.
Holy shit! That message took forever.
Yeah, my bad.
So
I suck at this.
Dude, my head hurts. Holy fuck! I would not last in that class with that professor because I would just rip him to shreds.
I know, it's so tempting to like. Here, this is a part that I actually completely forgot about when telling this, so y'all get to hear it fresh. He even like when, as an aside, when he first invoked Monsanto, he said to me, "Oh, well, you think that there's so many the big tobacco companies, and that's why there's all this research about how good tobacco is for you."
Wait, what?
Yeah, wait, what? Wait, what? Yes. Yes.
Wasn't it only one firm that was publishing the positive research about tobacco?
And it was completely overwhelmed by all of the actual evidence against it being good for you.
Yeah.
Like, and I even said, he didn't hear it, but because he kind of just talked over me. But I said, "Oh yeah, and that's why there's so little research on the negative health effects of tobacco, is because the tobacco industry's just suppressed that research and it's never gotten out. That's why none of us know that tobacco is bad." Oh my god! Like this, what I'm partially afraid about with this, and y'all can there's somebody showing. Oh, Scott, you're presenting that.
He's just showing Dragon Ball Z.
I know, it's so worth it though.
It's abridged, actually.
Oh, yes. It is.
Hence the look at the subtitles at the bottom. That's not from the original show.
Oh my!
None of that.
The bridge versions improve bad shows so well.
Oh, Netflix says, you know what would be
abridged.
He says, you know, it would be funny showing everyone the ending of my G-Man O video and see their reaction. Oh, I'm already going to be sending that video to the few people I know in that class who don't think I'm crazy, for disagreeing with the professor. But you know, that's already definitely going to happen, because that was a good video, man. And I gotta find it somewhere, but I did like a live reaction. Well, not live as in I streamed it, but like I OBS'd myself reacting to that video and adding to it. And you asked me to post that, and I don't think I ever did. But if I come across it, I'll post it like as an unlisted thing on G+ or something. But Elriedel says, how does he distinguish, say, a carbon atom from a GMO from one that was from a natural source? That's something where somebody mentioned organic to me, like, oh, what's an organic food? And here I'll I'll stop making you uncomfortable, Scott. There, you're no longer presented.
He still is. Though.
Oh, is he? Oh,
I was fixing my stream. That's why I'd switched to that in the first place. But
okay, not an issue.
But... I will leave that up because I don't care.
I don't care what the visuals are. Y'all decide that. But Gesundheit, whoever that was.
Oh my!
Oh my!
Apologies.
It is flu season, so. Nim asks, "You aren't crazy, Pew?" I sometimes.
Well, no. Just like many things out in space, it's all relative.
Exactly. And much like space, it's fake. So we should probably move on from that subject.
Oh God, how much butthurt has been falling from Elon Musk sending his car into orbit.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'll
be honest. I hadn't been looking into the mission details for it. All I knew was that the Heavy was going up and doing something. I had no idea they were doing all that. So when I first saw the pictures on Twitter of people saying, "Oh my gosh, these images are amazing," of the guy in the Tesla in space, I was like, "Oh, that's a funny Photoshop. That's a really good meme somebody made." But then I found out 12 hours later. It's a real thing.
That's real.
Wait, hold on. Can I see that picture? Can I get a picture of that?
Oh yes, absolutely. So let's see, Tesla in space.
Well, one thing that's funny about this whole thing is how the rocket was in 3 stages, and Thunderfoot was shitting on the fact that one of them failed and said, "Oh, that is such a success," in a sarcastic way. It's like, dude, this is
a so
private
salty.
endeavor.
Yeah, I don't fucking understand.
It's a private endeavor to get into fucking space. He's got 2/3 of his rockets that succeeded. The third one failed. I don't know how, but I'm willing to bet they'll hammer the issues and have a much higher success
rate.
rate.
Get the fucking car into
space. They've Elon Musk actually had a press conference where he already started talking about why the center core failed to land. It used too much propellant on the initial launch, so it didn't have enough for the braking evolution on the way back. So when it was supposed to be at about 50 kilometers per hour right before touching down, it was at about 300.
Mm-hmm.
So fucker just smashed into the water and even knocked out 2 of the engines on the drone ship.
But even without that explanation, Thunderfoot is just pathological. When he doesn't like someone, it's baffling.
Oh yeah, it's.
I follow him just because of his social commentary. It's hilarious.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, it is still a successful test. No, not every single component has passed to this point, but it is still a success. They can still learn from it, and it is still a proof of concept.
Elon Musk is a madman.
Basically.
Oh yeah, he is the Hank Scorpio of our times.
He totally is.
He's an evil scientist, but everybody loves him, so we can't do anything about it.
Well,
right, exactly.
Those Teslas.
Oh man.
You got to pick.
That's the best PR thing or commercial anybody could ever ask for is, yeah, we sent our car into fucking space. Suck it.
Well, what he's done is he's got
fake.
He's got his cars, he's got his flamethrowers. Everybody likes him. Now he'll take over the world, and nobody's gonna give a shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Basically. Well, he doesn't even need to take over the world. He can take over his own fucking planet if he wanted to. He has plans,
Oh,
you'll see him be the first person on his own rockets going into space. My planet needs me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
If he fucking does that, I will die. That will be fucking beautiful.
Okay, there's fucking GIF stuck on repeat. It's I don't know. It's starting to lose.
It stays up until Scott takes it down.
Oh God, the power.
Yes,
we could swap it out for a more traditional one from me.
There we go. That's not bad. That's
look, it's the U.S. government.
It's a lot of people right now.
It's me in history class.
And in a lot of ways, I want to say it's the United States, just at any level.
Yes. Hilo asks, did that rocket do anything besides get a convertible to low Earth orbit? Do you really need anything else?
Actually, it's not even in low Earth orbit anymore. It's actually beyond the Van Allen belts.
Yes, it is. I heard that, maybe I heard this wrong, but I heard that their goal was for it to actually leave the solar system.
No, the planned orbit is to oscillate. It's a heliocentric orbit that is going to peak at Earth's orbit and Martian orbit, and it's going to bounce between the two.
Oh, whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah, and barring any collisions that knock it off course or completely throw it out, it is going to be in that orbit for millions of years.
That's fantastic.
So wait. You know, 100 years from now, somebody could come across that car and wonder, what the fuck? How the hell did this get here?
I hope that that's in like a future alien civilization's equivalent of like a top 10 unsolved mysteries YouTube video. Wouldn't that be great?
With the golden plates on it.
Yeah. Yeah, this one just looks weird. This one we don't fucking understand at all. And to be fair, the people who launched it didn't either.
It's kind of funny to get knocked out of orbit and the thing lands in Red's backyard.
Oh my god.
He would fucking. That'd be the end of him, I think.
He would repair it. Oh, but he is so salty he couldn't see that though. So I've not been talking to him about it. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was.
No. I wanted to talk more about this. I guess I could always go back and watching the stream. But didn't you say that he misunderstood the double slit experiment, saying that electrons or something or conscience?
Yes, he did. He did indeed say that. Who does that remind you of? Pop quiz.
Well, it starts with an R, I think.
I thought it started with a
One
T.
of them. Both of them. Both of them have said it.
That's true. That is true. Although when Ronnie says intelligent design, at least we kind of sort of know what he means. But when Tommy says it, he means something fucking weird.
Yeah.
Well, he is good old Timmy boy.
Get this professor drunk, he'll start screaming object credit giver.
Oh my goodness. That would be a thing. That would be quite the thing.
But
there we go. But variety for everyone.
Well,
there we go. I see
when
that.
When you were going through the initial explanation of what he was saying, Pew, and like when talking about the whole frequency and energy and everything's vibration and everything, my chem teacher professor said the same thing, and he's an organic chemist. Where your guy went off the rails was throwing in consciousness.
Yeah.
Because that whole measure of vibration and energy and frequency and everything, it's not wrong. He was just misapplying it.
Right, like, I know, and that's always what it is when people try to take some quantum mechanical fact and then try to expand on it. Is like their initial statement is not technically untrue. It's just they completely misinterpret it.
Yeah,
they don't understand what it means, and I would have hoped that my chemistry professor wouldn't have been subject to that, but clearly he was.
Well, I feel sorry. Actually, no, never mind. Hopefully he'll change. Actually, no, maybe he'll probably never change his mind.
Yeah, I don't think that's likely, especially given how defensive his reaction was to not even me challenging him on it necessarily, but just expressing that I didn't agree and was willing to explain why. Like that's one of the fucked up bits is, I mean, for a variety of reasons, people now have been criticizing, the modern university, sort of culture that we have in the West, for being against the open discussion of ideas. And that's usually brought up in the context of like feminism or like social justice stuff. But I think that my experience shows that it's even more pervasive than that.
Yeah. I mean,
RSC to a chemistry class. I don't know. That was a bad plan, though.
I'll admit. Okay, I didn't have to take any biology classes because I want to say I did the worst in biology of all the sciences, but chem was my next worst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to take it. You have to take it prepared to take a math class, basically, and to take a weird type of math you haven't done.
Actually, when we got to the like balancing equations and all of that, that was actually the part where I started to like do well.
Oh, okay.
The stoichiometric stuff, yeah.
Right. It was a lot of the stuff before that where it was more just like sort of.
Okay, I'm trying to make sense of what the image here. Like, you got this guy. You got the top over here.
He's not even attempt.
And then you got how the fuck do these four images relate to each other? You got like frozen.
He took 4 items out of his gift folder that he uses for /B or something.
Hit Pew, you just fucking called me out. That is exactly what I did.
Was I even correct about the board that you got these from?
No. These are just I accumulate them over time.
Oh, okay. Well, they don't have the watermark, so I somehow doubt they're from iFunny.
No.
But, getting back to what was just said before, the whole thing about Western colleges and everything, it's really interesting you mentioned that because this happened just on Monday. Just on Monday with my English professor. For probably about the 5th time, he mentioned the wage gap and 82 cents on the dollar. And I couldn't even stop myself. I immediately blurted out, citation needed.
Yeah. Seriously, okay, that's the thing that's going to keep happening.
And then the class opened up to a little more free-form discussion of what he was ranting and raving about, and to which I was like, well, you mentioned this before. Now, while statistics can be misleading, let's do an actual apples-to-apples comparison. Now, every time that has been done, women make more.
Oh, you're just an MRA misogynist, and you should get out of my class.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here, even better than that, he just shut up, and then when I was done and finished with my point and pointing out that fallacy in his stat, he just completely changed the subject. Like, didn't even acknowledge it.
Oh, those are fun.
Wow. I'm surprised I didn't kick you out.
Yeah.
Another golden one. This is the quality of people that are in this class. Today, he was talking about how we got to where we are, like what were some things in this country that happened that really changed the dynamic on how men and women interacted and the family dynamic. People didn't even know what the significance of 1941 was. People didn't know the years of the American Civil War. It was like me and 2 other guys who actually knew when these events happened, and it's like, holy fuck, we are screwed.
That's almost as bad as when Ronnie butchers like Dover Trial or the Establishment Clause or the Treaty of Versailles. I think it is the one he goes to.
I've actually had a philosophy professor a couple of years ago who was also a male feminist. Go figure.
Well, I mean, yeah, sociology and English are where you're going to find them.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And mine is a huge male feminist. Like, we're talking, he actually said it. He was born in 1947. So he grew up and really went to high school and college in the 60s and into the 70s.
That's prime time.
Yeah. And he has not let it go. And he talks about citing your sources and using the MLA format and all this. And he can't even respond when he makes a point verbally and he is asked for his source.
I think I could be wrong, obviously. I think at that point he's acting on autopilot because he's trying to teach you that that you need to use that stuff when you're writing, but for some reason doesn't think he has to. I don't know. It's a weird thought I had that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think there's a difference.
I chalk it up as.
I think there's a difference between citing your sources in a work that you're having published and citing your sources while giving a prepared or maybe not necessarily prepared lecture.
Yeah. Just well, you think if it's a nugget that you keep throwing out there, even if it's outdated, when someone asks, "Oh, where did you hear that? Where did you get that from?" and would you answer or would you outright ignore it? Because I actually asked him that, like the first time he said it, I was like, I'm curious, where did you get that figure from? And he ignored it. So that's why the next time he said
that's not, I would say.
And then when I blurted out citation needed, it's like, you keep saying this shit and you cannot back it up. And when you are asked for clarification, you ignore the request to explain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The philosophy teacher I had, tried to conflate, somebody who quits high school and becomes a truck driver versus somebody who studies to become like a teacher. The guy who quit school and became a truck driver gets paid more than a woman who went to go study and become a teacher. Like, you do realize these are different jobs, right?
Yeah, that's always been part of the thing about the wage gap, is it just doesn't account for stuff like that.
Yeah, it doesn't account for experience. It doesn't account for education. It doesn't account for different professions to begin with. That's where I made the point to say, when you do an actual apples to apples comparison, the wage gap is completely fucking wrong.
Well, hold on. In the way they're presenting it, but there is. I think if I remember correctly, it does exist, but it's earnings, not. You know what I mean? Men and women do get paid the same for the same job, but earnings is different because men work their ass off while women. Well, I'm not saying they're lazy, but.
Women take more time off. Women use their vacation more. Women don't work as much overtime. And these are all factors that they use to conflate the difference. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that afterwards, when someone asks, is like, well, what did you mean by the wrong statistic? And I pointed out, when people are citing the wage gap as it being in an existence, they are looking at the totality of men working versus the totality of women working, and looking at earnings and dividing it to an hourly rate. That is wrong, because when you break it down, men work more overtime, men work different jobs that pay different rates. However, when you do a straight comparison where the only difference is gender, same amount of experience, same education, same job position, women make more as a wage, but don't work as much overtime.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie, I just don't care.
Yeah, but I'm all about intellectual honesty and being genuine when you are supporting your position. Because my thing is, if you're going to argue a position that has facts, support it,
I'm with you.
Do it. But if you're arguing from an emotional standpoint, admit it. Don't use stats. Don't use these facts when you are arguing from a position of emotion.
Yeah, but what disturbs me is that a lot of people in these colleges are, I don't want to say they're stupid, but they don't seem to have. They seem to buy it hook, line, and sinker. That's what I mean. It's just it's disturbing to me anyway. Again, I'm not saying they're stupid. Just, I don't know. It's weird.
Lazy and too trusting.
Well, yeah, I suppose you could put it that way.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go inside and eat dinner. I'll catch you guys later.
All right.
I'll see you. Thank you very much for stopping by. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah. Hit me up later.
Oh yeah, sure thing.
See you.
And I'm gonna have to actually leave myself soon, so I'm gonna give you guys the option. I can keep this going, and y'all just snipe me out when you're done, or we can end it now.
I guess you can end it.
Yeah.
Everyone good with that?
Sure. Mommy.
Cool. So, yeah, I kind of just wanted to get that out there because that pissed me off today. And thank you guys for coming in. And I want to do stuff like this more often because I feel like I've not really been as around as I'd like to be. So, because I always do enjoy this. So,
Yeah.
I'll see you guys soon.